My wife cheated with 8 guys and then said that I needed to be more responsible. So I maliciously comply. The background here is kinda long, but it's also important. I am a happily divorced dad of 2 beautiful kids, a 5-year-old girl and an almost 4-year-old son. My ex and I met in my home state of Illinois. She was a Navy brat, so her family was from Texas. We fell in love very quickly, got married after a year, and was expecting my daughter after 3 months. We found out she was preggers with my son almost 4 to 6 months after my daughter was born. A month after he was born, I found out that she was cheating on me with at least 5 guys. Later found out it was about 8. Obviously, I filed for divorce. I got the lawyer, changed my banking accounts, and presented her with papers. The first copy was rejected for a reason I can't quite remember. Upon revision, I had my lawyer also change the custody from me having the kids every other weekend to every single weekend. Much to his surprise, she signed it. We shared the kids accordingly. She was really angry, but there was nothing she could do about it. And when she and I could no longer afford to live in the same state, she moved back to Texas. Fast forward 2 years without seeing the kids. I couldn't afford to see them, except on Christmas, and I got out of the Navy, moved back home, and I got the kids for 3 months. I was appalled by their development delays. Both kids were rated in the bottom 5% of kids in their age. My daughter didn't have a clue about potty training at 3, was barely speaking, and had no awareness of adult authority. My son wasn't even close to walking, was nonverbal, wouldn't eat most meats, and was afraid of grass. After the 3 months when I returned them, my daughter would listen to adults, was potty trained, and speaking in almost complete sentences. My son was walking, saying some words and hand signals, and eating a variety of different foods. I worked my butt off to get them there. I also spent a lot of money on 2 times a week therapy for each of them. It was money well spent. Anyways, I stayed in Illinois for about 1.5 to 2 years, gathering up enough money to move to Texas. I had a little amount saved, but I started dating a girl who I came to find out was also wanting to move to Texas. So we pooled our money together and moved down. Almost done with the background here, guys. We got down to Texas and lived out of hotels for about a month. We found jobs, found a place, and moved in. I work in a sales position in a large bulk buy kind of store, and my girlfriend works at a sandwich place. At this time, my ex and I are not going by the divorce decree custody days because of convenience. Well, a person ended up quitting the job and I had to take their hours, so my girlfriend got permission to bring my kids to her work. The general manager loves them. Well, they were being toddlers, and she texted a mutual friend of my ex and me asking if she could watch the kids for a few hours. That got sent to my ex and her new husband got annoyed, and they came to my work and chewed me out, saying that I, quote, need to take the kids' well-being more seriously. Roger that, motherfrickers. Now I realize I messed up that day. I wasn't mad at what they said. I was mad at the fact they did that in front of my trainee, a customer, and co-workers. So, malicious compliance and revenge. During my setup phase, I wasn't paying my full child support, which was kind of them, but that ended because I was now taking things more seriously. The next morning, I talked to my boss, told him what happened, and informed him that I couldn't work at the times specified on my divorce decree because now that I'm taking things seriously, I'll now have the kids every weekend. I transferred my ex the remainder of the child support, informed her that she was right and I needed to take things more seriously, so I'll be by after work to pick up the kids for my court-appointed custody. She was confused, but agreed. Then I called her on Friday evening to see if she had everything prepared for the weekend stay, medication for my son, etc., and she flipped out, saying they have plans all day Saturday and church Sunday morning. She screamed, "Why the frick are you making these demands all of a sudden?" Well, I'm just taking the kids and our agreements more seriously. I ended up letting them have the kids Saturday and picked them up Sunday morning. I then informed my ex and her hubby that we would need at least a week's notice for any change in plans on weekends in case we had things planned. Since I was taking things more seriously, my girlfriend and I kept very meticulous records of any injury, diaper rash, rash on my daughter from not wiping correctly, and physical appearance on pickup. We would treat said rashes, note any changes in our little black book, then take a photo of the pages with a timestamp. When they returned, we would then note any worsening of any rash, injury, or non-treatment. We also signed up the kids for more therapy since they were still very much behind at school. This went on for a few months until, surprise, my ex had had enough and brought me to court to force the changes she wanted. I presented the judge with everything. The doctor's notes I had from day one, the doctor's notes from my ex with conflicting information. These notes were things she'd tell the state-funded therapist for my son. I also presented the judge with all the expenses for the therapies I was giving my kids. Then I showed her our notes, the printed, time-stamped photos, and the many times any rashes would be present or worse when we got the kids. My ex broke down into tears since she brought her entire family and several friends for support. The increase in child support she wanted was shot down and instead was almost halved since I was making less than I was prior, the expenses I had for the kids, and considering my overall time with the kiddos. The change in custody she so desperately wanted? Well, the judge ordered it to stay the same with the change of alternating Sundays, which was slightly annoying to me. Walking out, my ex asked me through tears, "How could you do this to me?" To which I replied, "I was taking things with the kids seriously." To clarify, I've never restricted my ex from the kids. If she wants to have them for whatever reason and I have no plans, I let her have them on my time. Yes, they are my kids. I don't have a paternity test. Even if they weren't, I would have claimed them as my own. The love I had for them even before birth is above everything else in this world. And for all you kids who are saying I neglected my kids by not seeing them for 2 years, I was in the Navy. I tried to see them, but my leave kept getting denied because of my medical BS. I FaceTimed with them every day. I requested to say goodnight to them whenever I was able to. If you've never been in the military, it's hard to understand how hard it is to get leave. And finally, I didn't relocate immediately to where the kids were because of the $24,000 of marital debt I was paying off. I was paying roughly $700 to that per month. I'll take responsibility for $10K of the spending. Once I had enough to survive 2 months without work, I moved down. That way, I knew I could take care of my kids in Texas. The time I was in Illinois, I was living with my parents. So, what do you think, YouTube? Am I the jerk? Well, I mean, if this is all true, then I can't see how anyone would call you the jerk. But then if your ex can cry out, "How could you?" I guess that it's possible to make that mental leap sometimes. To state the obvious, divorce is freaking awful and makes people say and do nasty, petty little things to spite each other all the time, and I'm sure these two did their fair share of those. And she'd cheated on him multiple times, so even if we can't say he was right to lose his cool, I don't think any of us would be surprised if he did. The narrator can't imagine that level of infidelity happening without some sort of row occurring once things were out in the open. 5 to 8 times is definitely going to build a reservoir of stuff to get out of your system. But now that we've tried to give her some benefit of the doubt that he might have lost his cool, it seems like the kids might have been better off under his care. If they're getting treatment, learning better, and have a lessening of physical ailments, the solution for the wife in this case should have probably been to up her game, rather than say that he was giving their kids help they needed to spite her. I don't know if it's possible for anyone to ultimately win in this situation, it's all pretty awful, but at least the kids would have things better around the clock. Anyway, this sucks for everyone. I hope the kids end up getting more well-adjusted under his care, especially now that he gets to keep more of his wages to care for them. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for potentially ruining my classmate's career? I'm a 20-year-old woman and I'm a college student. In my country, a lot of students hunt for internships because it helps in getting a better pay package during placements. I've been casually talking with this guy who we'll call Ray, who's also my classmate. He was all friendly at the beginning, but started flirting recently. I've never once flirted with him and always just ignored his moves, but last week he asked me out and I said no. In fact, I apologized to him to have him think that somewhere in our conversation I might have led him on. He ghosted me and I didn't think much of it. But 2 days later, he texted me again asking me out. I told him that I'd already said no, to which he had replied he gave me time to think it over and that I should be grateful for it. Not gonna lie, I got annoyed and told him to F off. And he got mad and called me all the names under the moon and just slag-shamed me for it. I blocked him, but he made his friends cuss me out too. I got super frustrated and called him out on social media, along with attaching the screenshots of our chats. About 300 people saw, and one among them is a placement mentor, a fourth-year student. I didn't think much of it because after the story, I'd blocked them all and went ahead with my day. The placement head saw this kind of behavior as unacceptable and appalling, so he reported this to our department head. Apparently in my college, this kind of behavior is labeled as persecution, and punishment can lead to suspension. The department head and placement mentor called me to the office to get my statement, and I did. I showed them everything. Well, he got suspended for 3 months for his behavior. He was about to get a very good internship in a government company, but since he got suspended, that internship is also gone. Our main professor, Peter, loves him, and he called me to his office to go and make another statement to the department head that I forgive him and there's also wrong on my part. Our department head called me, Ray's parents, and our 2 professors, Peter and Quentin. The department head asked me if I'm willing to forgive him. This will get him off the suspension. Somewhere inside of me wanted to see him suffer, so I told him no. He was horrible and I want him punished. His mother berated me in front of everyone, saying that I'm the one who led her son on and I'm doing this purposefully because he's my competitor, and her son is the victim here. The department head didn't listen to her and gave Ray his rightful punishment, well, at least according to me. Unfortunately, in my country, victim blaming is very common for harassment. Most of my classmates think I led him on, and what he did actually wasn't that bad, since he only called me names in text and not in person. I'm from Asia. The careers of men are of more importance than those of women. Women's education is actually considered a burden here, since men will earn for the parents and women will get married and earn for their husbands and his family. Ray is the only child of his family, and he's among the top students. His career was pretty set because he was supposed to get into a government internship, which is now not possible. This could have been a huge proud moment for both the department and Professor Peter, because getting a government job is extremely prestigious and difficult. I do want to complain about this professor, but honestly, I'm very scared now. I'm doing my internship and I'm scared he might try to do something. He's one among the major professors in our department and his subject is mandatory. Unfortunately, I don't have many friends to support me. Well, now our internship started and a few of my friends say that I took it too far. He just called me names while texting and I got him suspended for that. Some of my other classmates called me a bully and a jerk for ruining his bright future, and Professor Peter called me outside of class today and told me that he's extremely disappointed in me and it's because of girls like me, potential careers of men are ruined. This actually made me cry and I'm rethinking whether I did was actually extreme. So, YouTube, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. The department head looked at this man's behavior and deemed it to be unacceptable. You didn't ruin this guy's career by reporting his behavior. He gambled on his career by exhibiting it in the first place. Honestly, I thought, as of the past 5 years or so in the post-Gone Girl world, this would be less of a debate, but apparently not. Maybe that was too optimistic of me. Honestly, even if you are the kind of D-bag that sincerely believes you're entitled to make these kinds of moves, surely you understand that there is a risk of your life quite justifiably bursting into flames if you act on it. But the blame, as much as it rests on him, should equally be heaped onto his enabling environment, peers, parents, and teachers. It sounds like the majority in this environment is completely in the wrong here, at least from my perspective. You might take the point of view that the author might have done something in the past to make everyone dislike her this much, but to you, I say no. Again, the photos of what this man himself literally chose to write were enough to incriminate him under the rules of his institution. It doesn't matter how unlikable the victim might be. Also, she probably wasn't. Sounds like there was a lot of social pressure in her area to comply in general. This was written 2 years ago, and I hope she kept up the fight. Am I the jerk because I wouldn't duck down on a roller coaster so a family could have a family pic of just them? Well, as the title suggests, I was on a roller coaster, I guess if you can consider it that. It's one of those water rides that have tracks to pull it. Anyways, the boat fits about 6 people in it, and I was with a family of 5. I was in the back, and when we were going over the top, they asked me to duck down, as when we're going straight down there'll be a photo, and they wanted a family photo. I'm not sure if it's against the rules. I think I would have been safe if I did it, but I really just didn't want to, and I felt like I shouldn't have to duck for them, so I said no. The parents kept arguing with me, telling me to duck so they could have their family photo, and they called me a spoilt brat. I told them to go F themselves, and then we started going down. This is where I may have been the jerk. I flipped off the camera and I made a funny face with my tongue out. Holy crap, when they looked at the photos, they were livid, saying I ruined their opportunity to have a nice family photo. They asked where my parents were, and I told them to get lost. Their kids were just laughing their butts off. I'm not sure if they brought the photos or not. The dude who operated the photos said I was immature and I need to grow up. The narrator literally just watched the Family Guy skit where a family asked Stewie to put his head down on a ride, like today. So yeah, I feel like I'm being followed by someone. Stop stalking my life, head editors of the Am I the Jerk channel. Oh, and to our main point, this guy isn't the jerk. Is it even controversial? Honestly, I have photobombed these sorts of things most times in my adult life when I visited an amusement park. If you're that snooty to me, I'm 100% going to take it even further and pull the most obnoxious face you've ever seen. If it really bothers you that some random's in your photo, it's the kind of thing that you take and post online and ask a random to Photoshop it for you. It's not hard. And it'll be even easier for you if you don't ensure that the photobomber pulls a crazy face by behaving like a jerk in the first place. Won't let me correct a spelling mistake? Well, good luck getting me to pay. This was a good many years ago now. My husband's phone bill had a spelling mistake. Never really paid any attention to it. Never really caused any issues. Until it did, of course. The spelling mistake was simple. Think Rod William instead of Rod Williams kinda simple. One day we moved states and put in for mail redirection. Now, where I'm from, mail redirections have to be exact. So the bill never got forwarded. And in all that goes along with moving, it didn't even cross our minds that the bill hadn't arrived or been paid. And then, inevitably, the phone got cut off. Once we realized, we were all set to fix it up. Pay the bill, change our addresses. But no, it can't be that simple. You see, to change the spelling mistake, we needed to provide proof of my husband's correct name. But for any name change, they need name change documents, such as a wedding certificate or official name change documents, which he doesn't have as it's not a name change, it's just a spelling mistake. For some reason, his license or passport wasn't good enough evidence for them. So we ask what we can do to get this fixed up, and they offer no help or resolution, just stonewalling that there is no possible way to fix the incorrect spelling. Okay, cool. At this point, we were cranky. If you're not going to help us with what should be a simple fix, we won't pay the bill, we told them. They responded with the details of the contract and our obligations. There'll be debt collectors and other things. We simply replied, but who are you going to go after? They replied, you, of course. And my husband, looking comically confused, said, but my name is not Rod William and I'm not going to pay his bill. Good luck finding him. However, if you happen to send me my own bill, I'd be happy to pay that. Shocked face and, oh look, spelling mistake gets corrected immediately. I mean, yeah, they're the jerks, but they didn't even think through their jerkery. And what was their goal? The fact that this was all so easy to correct after their struggle as well makes me think that there was just a bored operator looking for some excitement in their day. If there were multiple people at this company who insisted that fixing the problem was impossible, that's dumb as hell. My dad complains constantly about my cake decorating hobby, yet thinks he's entitled to all the leftovers. So my mum and I decorate cakes together. My dad will always complain about the whole process and yell at us the whole time. Every single time we make a cake, he'll tell us that we're never to make another cake again because he hates the stress. Remember, it's not even him decorating it. My mum and I decorate the cakes and bake them. I suffer with anxiety and depression. One year, I spent my hard-earned money, as well as hours, designing, baking, and decorating my birthday cake. Yes, I made my own birthday cake. It's relaxing. But no one was going to buy me one or make one, and we celebrated with family. There was about half the cake left, and I figured I could save some and enjoy small pieces over the next week. The next day, I woke up and my dad had already left for work, with the rest of my cake. He took every last crumb to share with his work friends over coffee and didn't even think to leave me one piece. My birthday cake. He didn't even ask. This has happened so many times. I'll spend hours designing, baking, and decorating, and he just takes the rest without even asking. I've even told him that he can take some, but to leave me some to take to work as well. He then gets upset and guilt trips me, making me feel selfish for wanting to share my hard work with my friends, after putting up with hours or days, sometimes even weeks before the event, of him getting angry and complaining constantly about my cake making. It's not even his birthday cake. I've made him birthday cakes before, but he'll do this to any cake I make. Hold on, let me consider the many different possible angles we could come at this from. Your dad is the jerk. Cripes, if you're going to pick one route to jerkiness, you either eat the cake or complain about the decorating. Either of those will do. You don't have to go so overboard on your application, pal. You got the position. You're the biggest jerk, thank you. You might be overqualified. Well, I won't lie, it's been nice to have 3 quickie stories with an unambiguous villain in each of them. Maybe in the next video we'll get to something 10 minutes long and with multiple layers of reactions and shared blame. Until then, don't eat half your kid's birthday cake while simultaneously disparaging said cakes. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.